important things to talk about, gentlemen. We have Dragon Ball Z, the number one anime, back out again with a video game that I definitely am going to enjoy. So I am King Shaka. I am the host of Beyond the Pixel. I have my co-host here, Dismount. And of course, I have the impeccable, the honorable, the legendary YouTuber himself, Narrcost. He has been so gracious to grace us with his audio for this podcast, DBZ Fighter. So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, Narcos?
Sure. I'm a variety streamer here on YouTube Gaming. That means I just pretty much play whatever fits my fancy when it comes down to it. So I'm super excited to be nerding out with you guys on this because I'm a huge DBZ nut and I love fighting games. So this has like been a dream come true for me when it comes down to like what can be released in the future. I honestly didn't think it was going to come out, and now I'm happy to actually be able to sit down, talk about it, and be super excited about it. So thank you guys again for having me on.
It's awesome.
All right, so let's get down to the business. The beta, it came out. I thought it was a little weird on how it was kind of released for this beta, because it wasn't just, you know, it's open 24 hours, play it. It was like open in time slots. So did any of you guys get a chance to get your hands on the closed beta?
I have not played the beta. I didn't get the privilege of getting the invite code.
I got to play it for a matter of about 10 minutes before I got kicked off of it. So that was the good thing. I did manage to watch one of my buddies actually play it in its entirety. He was playing it for hours, lucky guy, and it's pretty awesome. But I think that was pretty smart to kind of do those brackets rather than do like, oh yeah, it's open up for the week, because it's just generating hype. It's been hyped up since Evo, and like it doesn't. I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon, because I think people are really kind of looking for this. Is kind of super excited.
Well, that's what I remember. Like the last DBZ fighting game, I remember me and my buddy playing it on PS2, and it seems like it's been forever since a DBZ fighting game has came out, and so I feel like the hype, because I'm not a Dragon Ball Z fan. I'm not. I'm going to throw that right there. You can hate me.
I'm about to kick you from the server.
You can hate me. You can hate me all you want to, but like I legitimately enjoyed playing that game with my friend. It was couch co-op. Well, not co-op. We were fighting against each other, but it was that couch, 1v1 fighting game, and I loved it. Like I legitimately loved playing DBZ fighting games, and so I feel like the hype for this, just because of how long it's been since a DBZ fighting game has came out, that this game is going to be legit awesome.
So the last 2D fighting game, I looked this up, like the last like real 2D fighting game that Dragon Ball Z released in this type of format was DBZ Infinite World for the PS2. Which I didn't even know existed. I thought Budokai 3 was like the last one, and then they went to the whole like 3D plane, fighting, which
Tenkaichi, baby.
Yeah, Tenkaichi. That's literally what we pretty much have until the last DBZ game, which is totally escaping me, because I kind of enjoyed it, but just to talk about it for a little bit, I kind of enjoyed it, but I kind of found it kind of grindy. It just like you couldn't in the like the hub world, you couldn't fly. Like you had to ride some skateboard thing, and I'm gonna look it up real quick. Xenoverse 2.
Xenoverse.
Xenoverse, it had a good concept, create your own DBZ characters, even though it was a little to me lacking in customization. But I really I feel like after that they're like, oh shit, we need to go back to the 2D fighting games, because that's what the people love. Because once Budokai 3 hit, I thought that was like the epitome of a DBZ fighting game.
Budokai 3 was awesome.
I'm into that. Budokai 3 is where I topped off. That's the last game I actually have on my PlayStation right now. I'll turn it on every once in a while and just play it.
Like if I still had my PS2, which is back at home in Cincinnati, I would I would love just playing that. But so with this release, do you think will this revive the 2D DBZ fighting games? Will we see more 2D games after this? Because this is going to be a smashing success. Like, let's just be real here. Like, there's no reason that it's not going to be.
Oh yeah, and I think it is because I think DBZ Fighter or DBZ Fighter C or whatever. Excuse me, I always mix it up now. It was always hyped up because there was a video on YouTube that was released. It was a fan-made game where they made the arcade series, and they made it fan-made, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, could you imagine if somebody went ahead and made this game?" I forgot what the hell it was actually called, but it got like over 3 million views all over Facebook, and people were super stoked about it. People were saying, "Oh man, it'd be amazing if they did this. It'd be amazing if they did this. It'd be amazing if they did this." And then this is an exact response. It even has the same art style. And I think we've been seeing the prevalence of 2D fighters just because now esports isn't such an untouchable thing anymore. And fighting games in general have some of the highest pots when it comes down to for winnings. And what I think it is like we saw Street Fighter kind of go into 3D and then kind of revert back into a lesser 2D. A lot of the games like Injustice are super popular now. Mortal Kombat are these 2D fighters with kind of 3D elements to them, or 2.5s or whatever they call them. So I think it's more prevalent now because I think it's associated with more hardcore gaming roots. 2D planes is all about then your technique, what you can do within that 2D plane, rather than positioning or so. It's more about skill and technique more than anything. Of course, this is going to be monstrous because everybody loves DBZ. I was super stoked for it. When I saw it, I was like, oh my God. I was like instantly started getting the shakes. I was so like nerdy about it because it does seem to encapsulate everything that you imagine DBZ being as a kid. And that ultimately is what it is. Even though DBZ is an anime essentially of 25 episodes of somebody screaming and then one move getting off, this one is, from what it all seems like, it looks like it's Marvel versus Capcom with DBZ character, which is going to be monstrous. And I think we're going to see more of that coming out, and it's going to be primarily based off of this game too, hyping it up. I guarantee it, the next Naruto game is going to be exactly like Dragon Ball FighterZ.
That's the feel I completely got from this game. In terms of style, each fighting game has its own style. It doesn't feel like a different fighting game. Tekken feels like Tekken. Mortal Kombat feels like Mortal Kombat. Injustice 2 feels like Mortal Kombat kid version, Even Street Fighter. So, but I got a lot of Marvel versus Capcom from this game. What are your thoughts, Dismount?
I think the if you look back to like the early PlayStation days when they started trying to kind of introduce 3D fighters, like I feel like they weren't as popular as the 2D fighters because, again, like Narrcost said, like you don't have with 3D fighters there's like a whole other element to it, and you have. I feel like the technique is taken away from that because you have the dodge ability and you have the ability to just do cheeky stuff. Whereas with 2D fighters, it's all about technique and who's the better fighter, who's the better combo person. You look at Tekken. And it's kind of always been like a 3D fighter, and yeah, it's one of the big esports. But I feel like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat has had the bigger following. Minus like the what was it? What was the game where Mortal Kombat went to the 3D fighting?
What the hell was it? It was War and our Deadly Alliance.
Yeah.
Deadly Alliance.
And it just kind of like Mortal Kombat went downhill from there, and then they started like, okay, this isn't working. Well, let's go back to the 2D stuff. And even the new the Mortal Kombat X is 2D fighting, and they've realized that hey, the 3D fighting is not really where it's at. We need to go back to 2D. So I feel like the 2D fighting genre is where esports is going. It's where everybody likes to see because again, like I said, with the 3D fighting, you have some cheeky stuff that goes on with the dodges and the rolls and whatnot. And so I feel like Dragon Ball Z has always been there for a potential esport, but I feel like Dragon Ball Z fighting games were ahead of their time. I feel like they had the potential to be an esport, but they were just so far like, oh man, this is so awesome, but there's no platform to do esports on. And I feel like this revival of the Dragon Ball Z 2D fighter is going to put that up there into the esport genre.
See, on the esports subject, I just want to like put this out here. If Budokai 3 had online competitive play, if Budokai 3 was remade for, let's just say, PS3 and had online competitive play, you would for sure see an esport for it. I would have no doubt in my mind.
Oh yeah.
So because you look at games like Super Smash Bros, they're still playing Melee for an esport. So, and that's the next thing I kind of want to bring up. A lot of these fighting games, you know, they're pretty much your esport lasts until that next game comes out, which with Smash Bros, it doesn't seem like that way. Like they are still playing it on Melee for esports because, you know, Brawl was crap and, you know, we just pretend that doesn't exist. So in regards to esports, you know, Dragon Ball Z universe wise can't expand unless the show, you know, expands. That's like a lot of the games that came out in reality, Dragon Ball Z as an anime already had ended. So how do you know, make this an esport, and how do you make it like long lasting? Because you can't introduce more characters per se.
But you could.
I mean, you could. But
that's the thing. That's the thing with going on with a. Sorry to interrupt you, but that's the thing with going on with a video game franchise from a TV series is that now you can introduce new characters, you can introduce new things to that series because the TV show has ended, but the I mean, look at you know, movie adaptations of video games, specifically Resident Evil. They took, you know, what the franchise was based on and they kind of expanded on that, and a lot of people didn't like it, and it could be the downfall of Dragon Ball Z, but I feel like the people that are making these games for Dragon Ball Z are fans of the series and they can expand on it but still make it true to the original core of the anime.
I mean, you're right in a sense with that, but I mean, with Dragon Ball Super that's out, you know, if I know you don't watch it this amount, but Narrcost, have you heard of Dragon Ball Super and watch?
Oh yeah, I've watched it.
So
I've watched it
what I'm feeling,
Dragon Ball Super.
so what I'm feeling is they have a lot of characters from Dragon Ball Super. So I'm really interested to see if they're going to release like maybe like Universe DLC, like Universe 10 DLC, where you get, you know, the 8 or at least a couple of the warriors. I don't want all of them, but you know, a couple of the warriors from each universe, like Universe 6. Maybe I get to play as Hit or Frost, right. Or you know, one of the other Saiyans that exists. So, do you think that's a viable option to keep it fresh?
Oh yeah, definitely. I wouldn't be surprised, since now it's kind of a new era for fighting games. We're getting a new resurgence of it. Injustice 2 is a great example of that because, like, what NetherRealm Studios does is they released somebody like Raiden, right? Raiden, excuse me, now Metal Gear God, sorry, Metal Gear on the brain. But they have Raiden available, but his alternative skin is Black Lightning. So that's the kind of thing that they could do then. I mean, if they released one character and then they did an alternative version of it, it wouldn't be easy. It wouldn't be very difficult for them to give an alternative skin to Frieza and make it hit. You know, it wouldn't be too crazy for them to go ahead and just kind of do that in general. And I think like the viability of it, how ravenous people are for Dragon Ball Z, because it is one of those legendary anime that they're pretty much, as long as there's anything that's out there, they're going to go and buy it. Because I will. As soon as they say, okay, by the way, buy the DLC and you get Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and I hated GT, I would literally go and just buy it just because I could have Super Saiyan 4 Goku, because that was the thing I used to try to doodle when I was a 5-year-old. And a lot of that is, and the cool thing about the way that this particular engine is, especially like Marvel vs. Capcom, this Marvel vs. Capcom 3 kind of feel, because it's so hyper quick and it's more based off how flashy you can go. It doesn't really matter what they're doing. It's going to be easy for them to just code in new skin and then kind of keep those elements and put that engine and stack it together and make sure that everything's ready to go. And so that's what's going to be nice about this, because they'll be able to do it. They'll be able to do it cheap. And no matter who's going to be in it, because Dragon Ball Z is so over the top, especially Super, that it's just going to be amazing. That it's just going to be flashy. And there's nothing better that engrosses a fighting game is the visceralness of it. That's why the Mortal Kombat games are so popular.
Oh yeah, look at the fatalities on Mortal Kombat. It's just like that was the thing we always strive to do. Like if they added the fatalities as a microtransaction, like that would have been the thing to do.
And they did do that. They made easy fatalities a microtransaction. And that was what's crazy about it. Like that, and people bought it by the rows to go and get it. It was 99 cents. You got 10 easy fatalities, so you could go online. Every time you did win, you got to perform a fatality by pressing one button instead of 6. And so that's what and it's nuts. It's so nuts because that's the same thing. I mean, if they did it like easy ultimates, you bet people would do that. It would suck for anybody that's online, but you get to do like anything that is what we imagine. I think what's going to make this so exciting, no matter what they do, if they release new characters, new universes, it's a non-stop thing. People are going to buy it because they want to get a new experience with the same engine. They think a new skin is a new character. They can do flip-flops. It's a lot of money that they can generate because all they would need to do is check sales, see who's really popular, release them in the game. Guaranteed there's going to be a bunch of DLC revenue just shooting in. I have guaranteed that they're going to do Marvel vs. Capcom.
For sure.
Oh, definitely. Because I wouldn't mind seeing like a flipping Dragon Ball Z like Super being like a fatality, like finish them and you just launching a spirit bomb on them, or a Super Kamehameha wave, something along those lines. Or, a lot of what Marvel vs. Capcom does is like the like combination attacks. I would love to see. Which I know they're going to have it, but I can't wait to actually just perform those actions, and it'll be so satisfying.
It'll be awesome.
So next point I want to make is, each fighting game has its own thing in terms of like trying to do a story. Mortal Kombat is very story driven, but we play it for the PvP. Street Fighter, has an okay story, but we play it for the PvP. Tekken has a story, but we play it for the PvP. Dragon Ball Z, every game had a story. Essentially, you had the story mode. I would say Dragon Ball Z, out of all the fighting games I've played, had the story that I've always wanted to play. Because especially for Budokai 3, you didn't just have one overarching story. You played as each character, and they had their own story. Yes, it was still like the main like Dragon Ball Z story from the anime, but it's like you got to play it from that character's perspective within that story. So with this type of Marvel versus Capcom style of fighting, do we lose a lot in not having a story?
I don't think so. I think that Dragon Ball Z as a franchise, be it the anime or the game, I feel like I said before, like that you can expand upon the universe of Dragon Ball Z with a game, and you can I feel like they have to hire the right people to expand upon the story, but you could basically take an anime series and make it a video game series where the storyline continues on through the video game. Because okay, so the anime series is done. Okay, well now we're going to make a video game franchise and we're going to continue that story. So you have the same people writing the story for the franchise, but in a video games setting. And I think that they could do a really great job, or I think they could fall really short. It's kind of up to them, but I feel like that the video game series definitely sets up a whole new platform for the storyline.
I mean, with that, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you go ahead.
So I mean, but with that though, we have Dragon Ball Super though. So why didn't they, have a story, along those lines, and or maybe a GT DLC, as much as we don't like to talk about GT and how it's not canon anymore, but could this really have a story? Could you actually see it having a story though with this style of game?
I mean, I could.
What are your thoughts, Narrcost?
Yeah, I think so. I think you could have a storyline with it too. It's just that I think they could play off the universe or super kind of storyline where something so devastating that's coming on by that they you would see Goku fighting with Cell for whatever reason. They would have to go back and try to find something, because the thing is that Dragon Ball Z decided that it was going to be terminated with the Cell Saga, so that opened up a bunch of craziness. When the Saiyan Saga happened, it was kind of like, oh, instead of Demon King Piccolo, it's now Saiyans and they're from space. And so now it wasn't just, oh man, it's just some crazy stuff on Earth anymore and it's just magic. It's full on, wait, there's a whole universe out there. There's a galaxy worth of bad dudes floating around. And then when they brought Trunks into the mix and they said, hey, by the way, something so bad in the future, we actually literally had to create time travel in order to come back. It does give a possibility for any Dragon Ball Z game to have an alternative storyline. Because the thing is like when you make a Dragon Ball Z game, you essentially know what story you're playing. You know that you're going to probably fight Raditz. You know you're going to fight Vegeta. You know you're going to fight Frieza. You're going to fight Cell. You're going to fight Boo. You're going to do those things. It's been copy and paste ever since they even came out for the Nintendo, when there was those Dragon Ball RPGs on the original NES. It was the same kind of idea. So I think what's cool about it is that they could do it, and they could even make it, quote unquote lore friendly. And so you not only appease the people that are just playing it for the storyline and their Dragon Ball Z nuts, but you can also play it out as cool hypothetical scenarios. The first Budokai did, with even somebody crazy as Nappa turning Super Saiyan, just as a what-if scenario. And I think that's what's crazy about it. You can do all these weird things with Dragon Ball Z as long as you build this kind of combat system that's crazy and flowing, because that's what we remember mostly. We don't necessarily remember the great grand arcs, because it's usually Goku gets pissed off, he gets beat down a little bit, he comes back with a new form, he kills the other guy. That's what Dragon Ball essentially boils down to. But the thing is, what we remember is the first time that Goku did the Kaioken. Then we tried to do that in the shower and got all red in the face. You know what I'm saying? That's what we remember doing. And that's what I think these games are really good at in Marvel vs. Capcom, is very stylish. If you ever see one ultimate attack in Marvel vs. Capcom versus Street Fighter, it's nuts. What Ryu does in Marvel vs. Capcom is literally a half screen size Kamehameha wave. In Street Fighter, it's literally a ball that moves a little bit faster. It's maybe an inch larger. That's it. And so I think that's essentially what is going to be the success with having this engine that's so close to Marvel vs. Capcom. Yeah. So you could do a storyline and get all the crap all at one time.
Right.
So that's one thing I thought Xenoverse kind of did well, was having these what if storylines, and Xenoverse 2 with all the villains being brought back, or at least some of the lesser known villains being brought back, and having these power ups and alternating time and all that stuff. I would love to see that more within the 2D game. For some reason Vegeta decides he wants to go Super Saiyan 3, even though now he doesn't need it because he can go Super Saiyan Blue God. Maybe creating a new form with only in Dragon Ball Z, instead of Super Saiyan God, now he ascends Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Ultra God or whatever, and looks very similar to maybe the Super Saiyan 4 from GT. I really liked how Goku and Vegeta looked at Super Saiyan 4, so I would love to see something along those lines, a new form that can only be played in DBZ Fighter. There's so much, like I said, to the DBZ universe, and the most memorable parts are when people essentially transform. the fighting, yeah, but when they actually transform, like I remember when Goku first went Super Saiyan, when Gohan got so pissed, he could one shot literally everyone and make them explode. And then when flipping Goku went Super Saiyan 3 and everyone lost their crap because he has no eyebrows. Those are the moments we remember. So that's what I would love to see.
With an anime series, the sky's the limit, literally. I mean, you can do whatever you want to with it, and you can make it as unimaginable but imaginable as you want it to be. You can go from, this puny little human on Earth to, demigod. In
dismount the humans will always be fodder in Dragon Ball Z, no matter what.
Well, I get this. I'm not a super.
You're not getting anything anytime soon.
I'm not a super anime fan, but like I said, I with anime, with any video game, really. I mean, the sky's the limit. It's whatever you can dream of to make a possibility. And I think that the Dragon Ball Z franchise has that foundation / fan base that they could do whatever they wanted to within the boundaries of keeping their fan base and make it a great game / anime series and be okay. I feel like they could do Super Saiyan 79 and you'd be like, oh my god, did you see fucking Goku do this shit? And everybody'd be like, oh,
here's green now.
No fucking way, man. This is amazing. And it's that human nature of looking out and being like, what if? That is what I love about, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not a huge anime fan, but that's what I love about anime and sci-fi and everything is it's that what if factor. And everybody loves that what if factor.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z is a lot of what ifs. Like, what if Gohan actually trained and wasn't useless? What if, Trunks, I don't know. What if, they actually used the Namekian Dragon Balls to bring back everyone in Trunks' timeline instead of letting everyone die off? What if Trunks' hair came back purple instead of blue? That didn't make sense. Yeah. So.
No, you're going in there.
We're not going to go there.
You're getting a little wild. Calm down.
But we talked a lot about the DBZ fan base, and a lot of games essentially tailored to the DBZ fan base. But does this game can this game actually have mass appeal? Can this actually appeal to people outside of the DBZ fan base? Like, the Xenoverse series essentially was for the DBZ fans because you could create your own character and all that stuff and go Super Saiyan for your own character or Super Namekian or whatever. But for this, with a lot more mainstream formula, I would say, how appealing is this to someone who's not a DBZ fan?
I think ultimately, if I cut you off there.
Go ahead, Narrcost.
No, yeah, I was going to say ultimately, Marvel vs. Capcom has a super religious fan base. Like, there's people that swear by it, and that's a completely different form of fighter too. Just because it's like the thing is like you have Tekken, which is like playing chess. You're literally trying to get the right positioning. There's frame data. There's all this sort of things that's going to take priority. There's going to be, there's going to be blocks and parries and opportunities, and there's going to be wall combos, juggles, and it's very much about positioning and poking the person at the right time. Marvel vs. Capcom is the sort of style where it's you have to smash that person. You're trying to do as many moves as quickly as possible and trying to block and parry as quickly as you possibly can, because it's pretty much essentially if you go against a pro Marvel vs. Capcom player and you slip once, your whole team is dead. And that's essentially what happens if you do one missed time. It's literally throwing a bunch of crap at them. Rather than playing chess, it's like playing war with cards. You're just trying to slap down as fast as you can. And what will end up happening is that I think the same audience will be able to kind of do the same thing. That same sort of audience who love Marvel Capcom is going to shoot over to DBZ Fighter, Dragon Ball FighterZ, excuse me, and kind of do the same thing. It's very reminiscent, so it's going to be a lot of poking product. I have to get a little more hands-on about it, but I believe that there's parries and advanced guards and stuff like that, so it already does have those, I guess what you would consider complicated maneuvers that allow it to be successful. As long as the audience deems it to be skill-based, or there's mechanics that are more advanced, there will be an opportunity for this to become a mainstream hit and be instantly relatable to DBZ fans, because you're going to have those people that are going to buy for that kind of maybe possible position to become professional at, or they're just going to watch it because, hey, it's Dragon Ball Z. I know that I will watch a specific streamer based off of what particular content they're doing. If it's something I enjoy, like a fighting game, and it's Dragon Ball Z, and it's complicated, and he can make it look as possible, that is where the mainstream power potential it's going to come to. I have a good feeling that it will. I'm not sure it will be for a long period of time. I don't think it's going to replace Marvel vs. Capcom, but it might be so. If Infinite Founders and DBZ Fighters, Dragon Ball FighterZ succeeds, we very well might see this on a competitive circuit bracket. We might actually see this happen. But then again, I have to spend more time with it. People have to spend more time with it and see if it's viable. And I think, but it does have that potential because it does have such strong roots in a franchise that has been a part of Evo, has been a part of competitive play for so many years.
So it's definitely not going to be, to me, an if DBZ Fighters is going to be successful. It's definitely going to be successful. It's just kind of, so for me, it's kind of like if Capcom vs. Marvel is not, like Infinite is not going to be successful. I've never played a Capcom vs. Marvel game per se, but I've seen it, so I know the look of it. I could tell it from everything else. But in comparison to me, to Infinite World and Budokai 3, Budokai 3, you couldn't just smash buttons and boom, you win. What I liked about Budokai 3 was I felt everyone was balanced. I could play Krillin and pretty much fight anyone because of the diverse skill set he had. Since he wasn't really a powerful person, his punches were quicker. His combos were a little bit quicker. He could launch you in the air, to me, easier than a lot of other characters. But I could play essentially any character, and I felt balanced. Like, no character felt more powerful than the other than the obvious, Boo's obviously going to kill Krillin in like 2 seconds. But but even with that, I didn't feel like, Boo was a lot more powerful than Krillin when I did like a PvP. I felt like I could fight anyone because the game gave you tools to essentially counter pretty much anything. You had dodging capabilities. You could instant teleport behind someone if they were trying to launch you multiple times. That's what I freaking loved. Even when they're in hyper mode, if they did like a thing called a Dragon Rush, you had the ability to counter to prevent their onslaught. And in fact, if you got on the first try, you would actually do damage to them, which was, I thought, very interesting. So with that, some characters like Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, Yamcha's, no one's going to play Yamcha, but, Tien and Krillin, who don't have, to me, that diverse of abilities, I guess, in comparison to like a Frieza, a Cell, Boo, Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, a lot of these, I would say, I guess, classify as weaker characters. I'm really interested to see, since it's supposed to be very, very flashy, very stylish, how they're going to really do that with these characters to make it balanced so you can essentially play any character. Because I always hate having, you have all these characters in the game and there's a tier list. To me, your fighting game should be balanced enough to where you could play any character and beat anyone. I'm sure that's true to an extent, but sure. I feel like when I see these tier lists, like Ryu's S+, but Ken is C minus. I'm like, isn't that the same darn character? Like, what the hell? But so what? I mean, what are your thoughts on this amount? We'll start with you. What are your thoughts on what does this game? What do you think this game could do to make sure that it's balanced and not a stupid tier system where everyone's just playing the same characters?
I feel like you need to have that how do I want to put this? So like most shooter games, which is what I play the most of, they have that you have your rate of fire, you have your damage, you have your accuracy, you have all these like little tiers, and everything kind of balances out to each other. Now in shooter games, like most of the weapons tends to be like a favorite just because of the way it's made. I feel like with a fighter game, you need to have that balance for defense, abilities. That was one thing I didn't like about. Uh, it was one thing I liked but didn't like about Tekken was that if you had the right combos with the right person, you could just deal damage, and there was unblockables. And I feel like they need to take out the unblockable thing in fighting games and have it balanced. Okay, this guy's really good at doing, punch, punch, kick. This guy's really good at doing high punch, low kick. But there needs to be a counter to that, and it needs to be a counter for every character so that if you get really good with one character, I'll just say Goku, and another guy's really good with Vegeta, like there should be a balance between those two characters to where it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, you have this really awesome move that's amazing, but there should always be a counter. There shouldn't. I don't feel like unblockable should be a thing. I feel like everything should have a blockable, because in real life fighting, there's a counter to everything, and I feel like everything should have a counter in games. I feel like if they can master that to where if you're really, I don't feel like the counter should be easy. I feel like you should have to know the other character's moves to where, okay, I know he's going to do high punch, low kick, mid kick, high kick, low kick, mid punch, high punch. You have to be able to recognize that combo to be able to block it, and you have to hit certain buttons to be able to block that. You have to, as he's going for the mid kick, you have to do a high kick counter, and that's how you counter that. I feel like that's how it should be with fighting games. I don't feel like there should be any unblockable. I don't feel like there should be anything that can't be blocked. I feel like it should be something that you have to be skilled at to be able to block. And you should also have to be skilled at to be able to counter the block, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, so like in Budokai 3, I keep going back to Budokai 3, but that's like the only thing
that's
really
that's the only one I've ever played
to play, and really to compare it to, because that was the last, I guess Infinite World, but you could block everything in that game. Like, you actually had a block button, not you had to walk backwards, none of that crap. You actually had a block button, and you use the power up. Even if someone was in hyper mode, you could still block. Now you could break blocks, which I love, because you should be able to break a block. Otherwise, it's just two people holding X and see which one lets go first. So I'm really interested to see, is there a power up? Because I haven't get a chance to really play it because I missed my time slot, I guess. Is there a power up system like in the Budokai? Which I'm pretty sure there would be. Otherwise, what's the point of having power levels? And then blocking system, how is that integrated? Is there things unblockable? It makes sense for a super to not be blockable to an extent. You should be able to take like less damage, I guess, if you perform a certain action. But if someone's launching a spirit bomb at you, you should not be able to block it. I mean, somehow Frieza blocked it with his tail. To me, stuff like that should not be blockable in this game. In the game, I mean, in anime, it probably is blockable, but in the game, just for balance sake, certain things regular punches and the basic mechanics, I would say, of a fighting game should not be unblockable. Where obviously if someone launches the super Kamehameha wave, you're not blocking that. You're gonna die.
Right. There's no blocking that. Like you just
take it like a champ. You know. You better hope you have a sensu bean in your pocket. So.
Right.
Yeah, you're fried. Yeah, you're fried.
Like just like you said, just take it like a champ. Like there's no like you messed up. If you've gotten to that point where you can do a super combine, yeah, that you've done messed up. Like you've already failed at your mission.
So. I don't know. I think there should be a way, but I think I always agree with unblockables just because I don't know. I'm more of an aggressive fighter when it comes down to fighting games. I like eat on people. But the thing is that you always have to have something that's going to prevent somebody from blocking, because there is a lot of times where you have to have it where there's viable options. If somebody is, I guess, what they used to call it back in Pokemon is chancing you. So
right.
You just you have somebody that has 10,000 HP and you're blocking it just to play time, and then that's how you're going to win your match, because it doesn't matter because you have good defense. Of course, it's a way to get under your opponent's skin, but if that's your primary thing, that person's completely unblockable. And you also have to be worried about, unfortunately, people that are jerks on fighting games and will, if you mess up, they can just juggle you. You can't block anything, so they'll just juggle you into an infinite mess, like Killer Instinct style.
Oh, Killer Instinct!
Oh God, 64
combo. And that's what it is. You always got to have a give or take to it. It's rough. It's always rough with a fighting game because no matter how many hours these people fighting engine, no matter how balanced they think something is, no matter how many people tested it, there's always going to be that one schmuck on the internet that's going to instantly find the one exploit that's going to completely devastate online.
Right.
And people are not going to have the silent agreement where they're like, oh crap, because yet again, it's competitive by nature. You're going to want to have that advantage. If you knew that every single time that you could down any person you ever got into a fight with by tapping them on the wrist, guess what you're going to do every single time before that fight is
tap them on the wrist.
You're going to tap them on the wrist. It's just human instinct, and that's what sucks.
That's where.
Yeah.
So, that's where I think like the fighting genre as a whole has failed. I feel like they implement these unblockables where if you're good enough, quote unquote, that you can just do these things and there's no stopping it. I feel like there should be a balance by way of having a block to the unblockable, so to speak. So, okay, so X, what was that one combo? X, square, triangle, square, X, circle, triangle, circle, X, circle was my one on Tekken 7 when I started playing that. That was my super combo that would take like 3/4 of your health. I feel like in there at some point in time, if you push 3-button combo at the right time while that combo is going on, it should block it. But I feel like it should be a way to where you need to master that character so that you can recognize, okay, this is the combos that he's doing, and I need to hit X circle triangle at this time in the combo to stop him from finishing that combo. I feel like that's a balance that fighting games haven't found, but they should.
Well, on a competitive level, I mean, it's all about pixel count and it's a numbers game. It's all timing. If they mess up one combo, if any person just messes up one combo, they're just done for that match. So
but if they don't, then they win.
Right. If they don't, they win. That's what I'm saying. It's a numbers game. You're taking a chance essentially. When you pretty much are facing like Sonic Fox or whatever, you're taking a 100% risk that you're going to lose. But for that 0% chance that you're actually going to win, you're just not, because he studied the game so much. He knows, every character has a different hitbox. So obviously, first thing, knowing that character's hitbox, all right, pixel and all that crap, all the technical crap. And then you have the numbers game. how fast that punch is coming out, how fast that kick's coming out. Every character's punch and kick has a different speed to be exact. So you're calculating the length of the punch, how far it comes out, and then some characters essentially have too much of a gap in terms of numbers that character is then labeled as like a D- character. It's because they have an exploitable time frame that you can essentially take advantage of, and that's why that character's never played on a competitive level. That might be your most favorite character ever, but you're never going to see him in competitive play. I mean, it's same thing with any esport. It's a numbers game. League of Legends, it all comes down to numbers in terms of each person's abilities and cooldowns and all this other crap. And it's the same thing with fighting.
But if you look at League of Legends, like there's constantly balance updates. I feel like with fighting games, there's never. I mean, just looking at Mortal Kombat X and Tekken 7 games that I've played, there's never any balance updates. There's never like, oh well, Sub-Zero is super overpowered in Mortal Kombat X, so we're gonna slow down the rate at which his freeze ball goes. Scorpion's overpowered. We're gonna slow down how fast his get over here spear rope goes. With League of Legends, they're like, this character is overpowered, so we're gonna nerf their damage that they do on with Ashe. Ashe is my main character. We're gonna nerf the damage or how long her freeze arrow lasts. We're gonna nerf this. We're gonna buff this because we don't feel like this is good enough. There's always a balance update, but with fighting games, it's like, here's your characters, here's what they do, go at it. And there's never, they introduce new characters, but they never like balance the characters that are currently out there.
I mean, dismount. The main reason that you don't see that is simply money. Whenever that's why when you see like patch updates with a lot of games on console, that usually coincides. For example, Rainbow Six Siege, they have their their different operations, and with that, each operation comes with bug fixes or changes to the game, is because they're already coming out with new content and all this stuff. One advantage that PC games have is that you have no middleman. With console games, your middleman is the console itself. It's Microsoft, it's Sony. So if you want to release a patch update on their servers, because you're not hosting your own servers. When you're pushing an update, you have to push it through Microsoft and Sony's servers. So Microsoft and Sony is like, there's a paywall there. So that's why you don't see updates unless it's new DLC coming out and all that stuff.
Okay, but let's throw Rainbow Six Siege out there for the
Blood Orchard
platform's sake. You got Rainbow Six Siege on PS4, Xbox One, and PC, and the main competitive scene is on PC, but patches come out for PS4 and Xbox One. And to balance stuff, these operators, we're going to take C4 away from them. We're going to add these grenades to these guys. We're going to take away ACOG scopes from, this guy because we feel like it's too overpowered. It's not, I don't really feel like it's a console. I don't really feel like it's a platform thing. I feel like it's a fighting game thing. Like, I feel like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat are on Xbox, PS4. It's not. I don't really feel like it's a console thing. I feel like it's a developer thing.
Well, you don't see those changes in Rainbow Six Siege until that operation comes out. So I'm not going to see any change to any characters until the next operation comes out, or it's a hot fix.
What about Mortal Kombat X came out? Okay. And we had all this stuff, and then the Mortal Kombat XL came out, where they added new characters, they added new DLC, they added Jason, they added Leatherface, they added all these guys, but they didn't balance any of the other characters in the game.
Well, Dismount, just to answer your question there. I mean, that's just WB Games just being greedy. I mean, they're notoriously known for that. I mean, you saw how they screwed over PC characters, the PC gamers, by not supporting it for over a year and saying you're not getting any new DLC, and then coming out later like, okay, we'll fix everything and here's new DLC. But I mean, just to get back on point, with DBZ fighters, I mean, it was good points making it. Looking at the fighting esports in general, you don't see, it's a great point, Dismo. You don't see changes really to, I would say, the meta for that game.
Right.
You'll only see certain characters played competitively because it's a numbers game. With Dragon Ball Z Budokai, just to go back to that, because that's like the only thing we have to really compare it to, I would say almost everything was balanced because it had a system in place to essentially balance everything. And now with a change in style, I really am interested to see, once this becomes, a competitive esport, because we know it's going to be, are we going to see the same thing that we see in every fighting game, only certain characters being played because of a numbers game?
Well, I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. I mean, if you're gonna, with a fighting game thing, and the problem is too, like kind of going back to the previous point here, is like there is going to be one character is going to be advantageous no matter what, because it just makes sense. People with longer arms are going to be better boxers than somebody that has short, stubby arms. That's just the same thing. What they're trying to kind of push that point. Is that and that's going to be the problem. You're going to have top tier. But surprisingly, that's kind of the nice thing about people that are kind of in fighting games. There's people that are pretty much masters. There are people, of course, that are going to be the number one. They know the frame data. They know if they do a forward triangle, that's a +2 to block and -1 to counters, et cetera, because that's the extent of how the competition has gone. Essentially, when we play video games, it is calculated.
Right.
Playing a giant calculator that is either transcribe that picture into 3D, 2D, whatever it might be. So unfortunately, that human element does get eliminated to a point. But the nice thing is, like, there was an upset a couple, I think it was Wii U, Super Smash Brothers Wii U, where some guy played as Pac-Man and made it all the way up to the winner's bracket. Like, it got, I think, second place, or I even won the tournament. I can't even remember. By playing Pac-Man, who was considered a low-tier character. And what he ended up doing is that, because he knew that everybody was going to play Fox, everybody was going to play Falcon, everybody was going to play Mark, that nobody knew how to fight Pac-Man. And he had done so much homework on his Pac-Man game that he dominated people that would never be able to stand up. Never, ever be able to stand up to what he was going to do, because they weren't used to what he was going to do. And it was, and there's moments like that. Those tier lists, of course, are based off the initial excuse me, watch my language here, that sit here and go on, and they just try to get the advantage. For both of us. Yeah, it's just trying to get the advantage as soon as possible, because ultimately, when it comes down to it, you don't want to be the guy that has to pay the most. They want to get the most out of their output, just like anything. That's why we buy frieza sometimes when we really want a Mustang, and that's just what it is. And that's unfortunately the event. We always want to be good, and ultimately, the ultimate thing of a fighting game is to see who is the best in the circumstance. You can eliminate 9 out of 10 problems that a fighting character can, like by picking this one dude. You're going to pick the guy who's going to have a 9 out of 10 options. You're not going to pick the guy who's going to get 1 out of 10 unless you're really just trying to insult the other person. And, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, ultimately, we're probably going to see stuff like that. Of course, people are going to be like, well, Goku's going to be like Ryu. Boo is going to be more like Zangief. Like, that's what we're going to see, those kind of balances. But ultimately, what I think is going to happen is the game adapts and the mechanics are more well out. People are going to pick other people that might not fit that status quo in order to throw off their opponents. So ultimately, I assume that everybody's going to pick Goku, Gohan, Vegeta. Like, that's what I just assume, because those are the most popular. And then it's going to break down further on meta where they're going to say, well, you know what? Actually, I like 16 because 16 hits harder, and he's a better support character. But ultimately, what people are going to do is they're going to pick their favorites, what they're most fond of. And of course, since it's an anime-based game, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to pick what their favorite character was from the show. Nobody really liked Krillin. Everybody really loved Goku.
Yeah, that brings up bring up a next point, because of how DBZ Fighters is structured. You know, have 3 people on a team. You know, each fighter had his own special style of fighting. So like if I was going into a match, I would pick Team Gohan, Frieza, and Vegeta. Frieza, I could hit from a distance, hit people with a different distance with, because he's known for his little laser beam for his finger. Team Gohan, just because I like Team Gohan, and then Vegeta to be aggressive. If I want to be aggressive, I'm going to go in with Vegeta. So I'm really interested to see, how people are going to mix and match these characters, because, such a variety of fighting styles can really make an interesting combo.
That's what I want to see. I want to see somebody who thinks outside the box. They don't go with the popularity. Yeah, I was never like the popular kid in school. Like I was always that kind of guy that kind of hung out with everybody and was in with everybody. I want to see what I want to see in a fighting game is that you don't have to pick this character, and this character because they're bound to win. I want to see player A pick fucking Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Raiden. I want to see player B pick Shokan, Goro, and Shiva. And I want to see them be evenly matched. And it's down to who's the better player. Who knows the other characters better than the other person? Who knows their characters better than the other person? Like who can... I feel like that's what's lacking from fighting games nowadays is that it's not about skill anymore. It's about which character is the best. I want to see a Scorpion Sub-Zero match go against each other where the better player wins, not because Sub-Zero is more powerful than Scorpion. I want to see, Goku and Vegeta go against each other, and I want to see who's the better player. I don't want to see who's the better character in the game. That's what I want to see. That's what esports is all boiled down to. You look at other sports compared to esports, and it's down to who's the better team, who can work better as a team to defeat the other team. I'm a military guy. I was in the Army. I want to see who's the better military, who can defeat the other military in strategy, and when it boils down to it, the one man on the ground that can fire the best weapon. I want to see who's the better fighter. I want to see, I don't care if it's Sub-Zero versus Sub-Zero. I want to see who is the better fighter. That's what intrigues me, is not what character is better than what other characters and who can pick the character that best goes against this other character. I want to see who is the better player. And that's what I think fighting games are lacking nowadays. Like I said before, with the balance issues, is that it's not about who is the better person, who can, better counter their opponent or fight against their opponent. It's about what character is better than the other character.
So I think when this game first comes out, there's going to be a lot of experimentation. Like a whole lot. Like everyone's going to be trying something new, but I can guarantee you the first person that finds the most OP combination, everyone's just gonna spam it. And then but when everyone does that, then now everyone's gonna think, well, heck, how the hell do I counter this now? So then now everyone else is gonna be spending on time, how do I counter this matchup? But just to go on, go to our final thoughts. So I'm gonna ask this last question: Who would you pick out of a DBZ universe as of what we've seen up now? I would say up to Dragon Ball Z, not including Super. I would say pre Tournament of Power Super. Who would you pick on your team and why? You can only pick 3 characters. Let's start with you, Narrcost.
Oh God, that's a rough one. Oh, God. Now, let me ask this. I'm going to throw some hypotheticals into this. Based off of who would we think would be the most successful, like, oh, hey, this is my homeboy, and I want him to have my back during a bar fight? Or are we talking about, like, man, who I think would be coolest dynamic-wise? Because that's going to be the thing, because I'm always a Gohan fan. Even though I hate his guts, and I hate the fact that for some reason he wasn't even sure that he could turn Super Saiyan, even though
that was
it was only 3 years after the Boo.
Right.
And he doesn't train for for 7 years between the Cell Saga and the Boo Saga, and he can still turn Super Saiyan 2. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Right.
Like, that's what it was.
That's for another podcast. Everything wrong with Dragon Ball Super.
But yeah, anything. Yeah, well, that'll get me nerdy out. But like, if I was gonna pick, I mean, I would pick Piccolo because he's like the cerebral fighter. Like, he actually thinks about crap before he goes into battle. He's not like, oh man, I want to give Cell a sensu bean and make sure that he's a cool power, even though the galaxy's in danger. You know, I would pick him, Tien. I love Tien. I always loved Tien, and I always thought he was a big badass that totally deserved more time. And then I guess I would pick Gohan. Honestly, I would think, like, with Gohan and Piccolo, they would be able to inspire each other, and like I think they would have that dynamic because they're actually father and son. I don't give a crap. Goku never raised Gohan a day in his life, and
pretty much.
And I would say Tien, just because he's a tactical fighter too. He's a true martial artist, and he actually thinks out and has different techniques outside of other DBC fights. So like I always think that those guys would be able to fight off one another. They fought each other. They fought with each other during the Saiyan saga. They would be able to do whatever they wanted, and so I think that would be a cool dynamic to have at that point. If we're going to go straight for like, oh man, who I would think would be the most technical fighters, I would definitely think that those three would be able to do it, because all you need to do is piss off Gohan, and then he remembers everything all over again. Just whoops your ass. And that's what I would be totally down with, because technically he has the most potential, but he only fights when it's necessary. But I think if it was a necessary fight and Gohan had to actually come to blows, I think he would be the best guy to have. Piccolo backing him up and helping with strategies, and then you have Tien, who's the technical support. And I'm nerd. Realize. I'm sorry. Anything else you did?
those are definitely good picks. This is gonna probably be a little bit harder for you, but who would you pick?
So no, this is actually really easy, because literally the only 3 Dragon Ball Z characters I know are Goku, Gohan, and Vegeta.
Vegeta?
I like to call him Fajita because I like to think of him as a Mexican alien, and I love tacos, so he's my dude. So I'm gonna go with Goku, Gohan, and Vegeta, because those are literally the only 3 Dragon Ball Z characters I know.
Well, my whole team's destroyed. So
I mean, I feel like, Goku is obviously like the head of the franchise, and he's always been like, how Super Saiyan can he get?
Pretty much. How close to godhood, essentially?
And Vegeta has always been his arch nemesis. So I feel like those two are both on kind of an even plane for number 1 spot. And Gohan, I don't even know who he is, but I just know his name. So,
good choice.
I feel like he's just going to sit back and go team, and Vegeta and Goku are just going to wreck everybody. So that's my pick: is Goku, Gohan, and Vegeta.
All right, so I mentioned my picks earlier, but I'm gonna actually change it. So Frieza, is actually my favorite villain. So I would actually go with Frieza, just because Frieza actually has a very diverse skill set. We actually kind of saw it in the Dragon Ball Z when he first fought Goku on Namek, and then obviously create a new form, Golden Frieza. I mean, that just looked badass. It looked more badass than, honestly, Super Saiyan Blue, even though I like the original Super Saiyan God. I think I like the original Super Saiyan God transformation more than Blue, even though now Goku can now just turn to that one at will, essentially. But Vegeta, because I've always been on that Vegeta train, yeah, Goku, but he's not really a father. Piccolo is Gohan's dad for real, confirmed. But Vegeta has always been my favorite because he's always that badass who didn't take shit from no one. To excuse my language, but didn't take anything from no one. So that's why Vegeta is on my crew. And then after watching the Tournament of Power, I would say Android 17 because he does not take that crap. He does not believe in people transforming to their full potential. He's like, no, just kill them before they do it. That's why I loved that scene when there was 3 people powering up like the flipping Powerpuff Girls, and Android 17 just said nope, and then everyone yelled at him. But it's like, if you think about it, Dragon Ball Z all comes down to everyone's ego is so big, it is like everyone else transform, and that's why the villains are so strong. So they just sit there and let them transform. They don't do anything about it.
You can't have a good series though without a powerful. I mean, think about it. If you had Super Saiyan 3 Goku and like Vegeta that was just like still like, meh, I don't even care about transforming. How long is that series going to last?
Well, see, Vegeta's personality wouldn't actually allow that, but I mean, come on, they just let Cell absorb 18 and then boom, transform.
Well, let's not get into that again. That whole Cell thing.
That's a whole other discussion for beyond the anime.
Beyond the anime.
Yeah, beyond the anime.
Stop letting them transform.
Yeah, well, because I'm Super Vegeta. Like, look, your son from the future came back. Everybody's dead. Don't let him have. I can handle it. Gets his ass beat immediately. I don't want to hear it. I hate Vegeta. Next podcast, I'll get on that.
That's awesome.
But that's why I love the Android 17. He's like, I'm not gonna let these people transform, so I'm gonna hit them. I'm gonna be smart about this, guys. It's like, everyone's mind's like, yeah, I want a good fight, so let him transform. But those are my picks because Android 17 would be like, no, we're gonna do this. Plus, he's like the only one that's smart enough to have a flipping shield. Like, no one else uses a flipping shield like him. Like, you want to avoid a lot of damage? Just have a shield. Plus, he has infinite energy technically. So that combination, Frieza for the power, Frieza and Vegeta for the power, and Android 17. Essentially, if I want to get more of a like, maybe if I'm losing, maybe I'll switch to him and be a little bit more defensive, but also can land major hits. Especially since in Super, everyone's just really powerful for some reason. Made no sense, but
I mean, there's the whole pretense of Super, so I mean, they kind of.
Well, I mean, just for Android 17, Android 17's character in particular, like he just became apparently like insanely more powerful. Like it didn't make sense. That's for another discussion, though. Power levels are bullshit.
Way into Dragon Ball Z, and I'm not even a Dragon Ball Z like super fan. Like, I don't know anything about it, but I'm like, yeah, well, that's kind of the point of Super, right?
Essentially, it's the how powerful can we make people?
Like I said, Goku Super Saiyan 79. You're all done.
But honestly, this game is going to be amazing. It's going to be a blockbuster success. It's going to be everywhere. It's going to be sold out.
I feel like it's going to be.
Which is why I buy it online, even though it's $60, a little steep for my price. Steep for a fighting game to me in general. But it is Dragon Ball Z, so it comes out February 2018. Probably on Valentine's Day. That's a great Valentine's Day gift for your significant other. I would expect my wife to get me Dragon Ball Z Fire for
hashtag Shaka's wife. Buy this for me.
Buy this for me now. Pre-order. I want the collector's edition. But yeah, that's all we have for Beyond the Pixel for this episode. I want to thank Narrcost for being the first guest on here. Yes. He was absolutely amazing. I hope to have him in future podcasts.
Thank you, Narrcost, for coming on.
Oh, he muted himself, but
He did.
But yeah, I'm sure he'll listen to the playback. But yeah, we was just telling you, thank you for being on here, being awesome.
Thank you. Sorry about that. There.
So
I appreciate it, guys. The next time you want to nerd out or you ever want to do a DBZ discussion, let me know.
Oh, definitely.
What are you doing tomorrow?
Exactly. What are you doing tomorrow?
Raising my blood pressure, apparently.
This dismount guy doesn't know shit about Dragon Ball Z. I can't even talk to him right now.
But yeah, definitely feel free to, stop by the Discord anytime you want to hang out with us, play with us, whatever. You're always welcome.
Go check out Narrcost on YouTube. I was watching some of his YouTube stuff, and it was awesome. I was really enjoying watching it.
Narrcost's channel is linked in the description down below. I have his channel on there, and I have his Twitter. So make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. He is very consistent with his updates, his live streams. He's an awesome good dude. Make sure you watch his stuff. If you don't, I'm gonna find you, and we'll watch it together. We will find you and watch it together.
We will kill you.
I was going to say, we at Narrcost here do not condone the issue.
We do not condone the forcing.
Disclaimer.
But we do find it hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, as long as you can't put it into me, I'm perfectly fine with whatever happens. I didn't hear anything. But thank you. Thank you guys for having me as a guest. I appreciate this.
It was awesome having you on here.
It was awesome.
Yeah, I look forward to it. You guys don't be strangers either. You know where to find me. I'll be on Twitter and whatever. Come into my Discord and talk rap with me all you want. But thank you guys. I really do appreciate it.
Definitely. And of course, I have to thank my one of my co-hosts, Dismount, for also being awesome and of course beautiful, and Joe, who is in the chat, couldn't join us in here for some reason, but he's also awesome and beautiful. And this was another episode of Beyond the Pixel, and we hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.